Hello, I'm Billy Ray Erlings. Thank you for joining me in this session. For those of you who are restarters beyond the absolute beginning level, we wanted to give you some idea of how the superlearning approach takes you to a different place in studying music and studying piano specifically. I thought it would be fun to begin with the piece that's in my book that will be downloadable for you, The Entertainer. Most people are familiar with the Scott Joplin rag. I made this arrangement of it to make it playable for students who are for sight reading, for those of you who are more advanced. I want to start by reminding you that in our superlearning approach, one of the major differences for us is that we're trying to guide you in the learning to find the creative gesture, the expressive gesture, or the inner meaning of the music. It's that can't be found just in playing your notes in time. We hear that all the time. If you have your piece downloaded then, let's begin. We remember that in the superlearning approach, we are seeing how time organization and pitch organization, how a composer has designed those two to create the inner meaning of the music or the expressive gesture. So we study time organization first. What creative ideas do we glean from that? Then we consider our pitch organization. Now, looking at the entertainer, let's look first at the time signature. What does it tell us? We know two prototypes, the type of the body movement like this and the prototype of cradling our young, the sways. Well, when we see two up there, we know immediately we're talking about a movement like this. And an entertainer is going to be on 2 feet, right? So it makes sense. The 4 tells us that the quarter note's representing the beat. So already I know that the movement is like walking, like marching type of thing. Then when I look, I see an introduction there, the first score of the music. I'll come back to that in a minute. And then I begin to see the fun syncopations starting in score 2. I see the time organization there. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So I need to be able to execute those. If you can, play the left-hand part in blocks on beats 1 and 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Looking at the time organization further, I don't really have much different to learn. If I can execute the 4/16 at the beginning, and if I can execute 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, ta, 2, ta, 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 1, ta, ta, 2, ta, 1, ta, 2. That's really the whole piece as far as time organization goes. Let's look at the pitch organization in the superlearning way. First, we would go to the end of the composition. If that's 20 pages later, I'm going to find the end of the composition. The lowest ending pitch, 90% of the time, is the home tone. There are some pieces that end with a question mark, but most of the time we're going to hear the home tone. So I find my low C. Now I want more evidence than that, so I add the right hand. I'm looking at the second ending. I add the right hand and I find, oh yeah, I'm on the C major triad. So I look back at my key signature. Remember the number of sharps or flats at the beginning of a piece. I don't have any. Therefore, by using a general principle or a process, instead of having to memorize every key signature, we learn a process, a procedure, which is easy to remember. So I'm going to build my scale. It's important to hear the scale because the composer is hearing in a key as he or she composes. And we have to relate to that. If you don't know your home tone, and I mean know it not only on the keyboard, but know it in your ear, and know something of the relationships within tonality. This is something that we have great fun studying in super learning. It's about tonality. And I know within the key, within the major mode built on C, that the most important tone is a perfect fifth above the home tone, the dominant. That's why it's named dominant. Now, when I know that relationship, and I know that this is tonally based, then I want to listen for that relationship because dominant is so named because it demands the return to the home tone. The Western culture ear is wired that way for us to hear that. So now I'm going to look at the composition. Right now I'm going to leave the introduction, that first score. Let's go to the heart of it, and then we'll come back to that really fun introduction. Looking at score 2, I can see that all of that is the home tone. Well, of course, that's what he wants to do. Establish the home tone. When he adds the B flat, he has turned that chord into another dominant, which wants to resolve to F, which is our 4 chord. We remember 1, 4, 5, 1. If you've studied other approaches, you know that well, but perhaps not in the meaningful context of what it means in tonality, which gives you a cue, a clue to the creative ingenuity that resides in the piece. So I've got the home tone going to the 4 chord, dominant, a little frill, and going where we expect. So what's happened? If I can begin to hear and see the composition from 30,000 feet, instead of the other way of learning, oh yeah, left hand, it doesn't work very well, and you won't be a super learner. You have to see the big picture. So I see this is tonic going to the 4 chord, dominant. I meant to say tonic. It goes back to the tonic and then dominant. And it closes off. Then we start an A section. And thankfully, it would be dull if he did the very same thing over again. We're going to modulate momentarily, but he comes right back. So going over that again, he's on tonic, and he does the 7th of the chord, going to the 4, now, oh, la, da, da, da. Ah, what is this? Can you figure out what that is? Yes, it's a D major triad. Well, a D major triad is the dominant of the dominant. It's the dominant of G. So he's stacking these. Beethoven does the same thing. Mozart, most great composers who write in tonality do this. They stack these powerful, demanding dominant chords, one against the other, and they force the momentum, the movement of the composition. That's great fun. Then he starts over again. I think that one is exact. So we had an introduction, an A, an A prime, a return of A. See, if you know that, it greatly simplifies your learning. It reduces. You're not reading like watching your feet walking from here to the door, which is what happens if you're learning note by note. Then we have a fun cadenza or cadence. Fun. Now, look at the beginning. We're in the key of C major. It doesn't start. It doesn't start on the home tone. What is it? Imaginatively, it's all on the dominant. It's just a play on the dominant chord. And when I hear that, I understand creatively what to do with it. It's the introduction. It's the entertainer coming on the stage and saying, hey, here I am. This is going to be fun. And I hope it's been fun for you. It has been for me. Remember that I wasn't trying in this lesson to teach you the P's. I'm trying to show you that there are many interesting aspects of superlearning. I hope if this has piqued your interest that you will buy the book and join us in this series.